4.5 hours. That's it. That's all the time it took for the jury to return a guilty verdict against Samuel Bankman-Fried, aka SBF, on 7 felony counts in his criminal trial in the Southern District of New York. Now, if you can tell, I'm not in my normal office. You can't see Mount Rushmore. You can't see the Space Needle. Hey, all you can see is a hotel in St. Louis, Missouri, and I am reporting from the road today. Let's jump into this conviction and what's next for SBF. So he's convicted. Are they just going to lock him in prison, take him to Rikers, and throw away the key? Not at all. That's not what happens. This jury will have nothing to do with his sentencing. Because they convicted him on all 7 counts, he technically faces up to 115 years of a sentence, which he's not going to get because financial crimes like this just don't get the maximum sentence. And while he was convicted 7 times, the reality is that it was kind of all for one ongoing fraud or one ongoing scheme. And that's actually going to work in his favor, even though there were way more than a total of 7 crimes committed, because he just kept criming for about 2 years. He actually has a sentencing hearing in March of 2024, and it's at that time that he'll learn his fate. Until that time, he's going to stay in jail, incarcerated, awaiting his sentencing. However, he has a special bonus edition. He is going to be tried for additional crimes, including some bribery and bribery conspiracy charges, and derivatives fraud and securities fraud, and some other stuff that hardly anyone ever gets charged with. I'm telling you, if 2023 was bad for him, which it was, 2024 is going to be worse because he's going to find out exactly how long he's in there for. Now, strangely, as soon as the jury verdict was announced last night, which concluded at 7:47 Eastern Time, his lawyer issued a statement saying he's not guilty. He doesn't admit any wrongdoing, and he's going to challenge the charges, which is fascinating because they are no longer charges. They are actual convictions. So he can appeal, but he doesn't have a great appeal. His basis would be that he was not medically able to participate in his defense. That's not going to fly. But look, anyone can appeal, but he will be in prison while his appeal is pending. There's a possibility that his second case won't go to trial because the prosecutor, now that he's going to spend years and years and years in jail, can just dismiss the charges. For reasons that I have touched on in earlier videos, I don't think that's going to happen because he's a little bit of a political hot potato. I think that the DOJ is going to want to try to make an example of him because he gave so much money to Democratic political PACs and candidates. I think the DOJ is going to try to wring him out. I don't expect those charges to go away, but I've been wrong before. I'm not convinced that I was exactly right on how long it took the jury to deliberate because I thought they would be out for 5 or 6 hours. It was 4.5. I have a friend who suggested that they got the free dinner, and then as soon as they finished dinner, then they convicted him. So as I pointed out in my prior videos, SBF's decision to testify was a bit of a Hail Mary. The idea would be that if he could convince a juror that he didn't do it, that he wasn't guilty, maybe he doesn't get convicted. But it didn't work. It was a low probability play. And now he's dealing with a situation where he has shown no remorse to the judge, including, and this is so crazy, as I said earlier, his attorney's statement to the media after the conviction that he denies that he did anything wrong is going to be used against him in sentencing because his attorney's statement is attributable to him and he's not taking responsibility for his criminal acts. And that's a really bad look. It's like he's just convinced that somehow things are going to turn in his favor. But as the prosecutor pointed out in closing arguments, the trial was never really about was the money missing, because that was a foregone conclusion. It was more than $10 billion. What the trial was about was, did he mean to take the money? And because he had Singh, Wong, and Ellison all saying, yeah, he knew what he was doing, he made us help him do it, etc., and they also had to plead guilty as a part of that testimony, it's really hard for the jury to say, wait, these people who blew the whistle are guilty, but he's not. That's never going to fly. He's going to get convicted, and he did, and his Hail Mary came for nothing, and it may bite him in the backside when it's time for sentencing. So the jury agreed with me, or I agreed with the jury, that it was obvious that it was an intentional fraudulent scheme that he was engaged in, and that's why it went down so quickly for him on Thursday night as soon as closing arguments were over and the jury was left to deliberate. All right, that's a wrap for today's video. What do you think's going to happen regarding his second set of charges? Do you think they can or should be affected in terms of whether he gets prosecuted by the fact that he's already been convicted? If you haven't already given me your guess about how long he'll be sentenced, get down in the comments and do that. And smash the subscribe button, because America's Attorney will upload on schedule even when I'm on the road. I will see you next Tuesday. Thanks a lot. Bye.